All right, folks, gather round. It seems our former commander-in-chief, in his infinite wisdom, struck a trade deal with the UK. Cars, glorious British cars, 100,000 of them, can now waltz into the US at a discounted tariff rate. 10%! Can you believe it? A whole 10% off. What a steal. Of course, this is compared to the usual 25% tariff slapped on other countries' cars. You know, like those pesky nations of Mexico and Canada who actually, make car parts for American companies. But hey, who needs logic when you can have a good old-fashioned trade war, eh? Now, you might think American car manufacturers would be thrilled. More competition, right? A chance to prove their mettle. But no, the response from Detroit was about as subtle as a monster truck rally. The American Automotive Policy Council, representing the Detroit Three, basically said, "Are you having a laugh?" They argued, quite reasonably, that importing cars from the UK with minimal American parts is now cheaper than using parts from their own backyard. It's like going to your neighbours for sugar when you've got a whole pantry full. Makes sense, right? So what was the White House's response to this automotive outcry? Well, then spokesperson Kush Desai basically said, "Look, we're bringing back American manufacturing. We're making America great again. One tariff at a time." Never mind that this deal seemed to contradict that whole idea. The logic, or lack thereof, seemed to be lost in translation. It was like watching a dog chase its tail, except the dog was the American economy, and the tail was a British-made steering wheel. In the end, this whole trade deal fiasco felt like a scene out of a slapstick comedy. You've got the Detroit Three fuming, the White House doing its best impression of a deer in headlights, and the American consumer stuck in the middle, wondering why their pickup truck suddenly costs more than a small island nation. It's enough to make you want to give up on cars altogether and just ride a donkey to work. At least then you'd know the trade deal wouldn't affect the price of hay. Probably.